What's going on, Dodgers Nation? We are joined today by a Los Angeles legend. Of course, he was a San Diego Padre for all those years, but we'll let that slide because of all the great things that he did for us. He's a 5-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove winner, 2-time Silver Slugger, Mr. Adrian Gonzalez in the house. How are you, man? How's pandemic life treating you?
Hi, you guys. Everything's going well. Pandemic life is, it is what it is. We have business, school, and all the above under one household, and but overall it's good. I mean, we had a World Series, victory, which kind of made everything feel a lot better than it was before that.
Yeah, I'll say, as somebody who's had to stay home all year long, watching a World Series win was probably the best thing that could have happened to me this year. Speaking of that World Series win in particular, Adrian, you were, I don't know what the best way to describe this as. You were the light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of Dodgers fans. The trade when you came over to LA, that was kind of the turning point for the franchise that, obviously led into the 8 in a row divisions, all those things. What is it like to watch this team that you've helped get over the hump in the beginning to go on and win a World Series?
I mean, it was great, just seeing guys that I remember, getting to the big leagues for the first time. And, I remember those conversations and the talks and everything that, seeing where they're at now. You see Corey have the series that he had and the playoffs that he had. And you see Jock come up with some big hits and Austin Barnes and, a bunch of different guys, Julio Urias, all these guys have just an incredible playoffs. And, those are guys that came up when I was there and had really good conversations with them. And I'm not going to go out and say I mentored them, but I definitely gave them advice. And it was great to see those guys, have the success that they had, and they're not rookies anymore. They're in the peak of their career, and they showed their talent for sure.
You mentioned there Julio, and you got somebody like Victor Gonzalez who did so much on the biggest stage when at one point in time he was. The story is he was in tears. He was considering quitting the game. I don't know how much you have had much interaction with Victor, but more so about those two and just what it means to the Mexican community, to the Chicanos around LA and just around the world, to Mexico. What's your take on what they were able to do during this postseason? Really the biggest stage that you can get.
It was incredible to see, honestly. It was such a, fun experience. I know that everybody in Mexico is still raving about it, still talking about it. One of the biggest articles is, having Julio be the second Mexican pitcher after Sergio Romo to win a World Series or get the final out of a World Series, and so that's been a big deal. And within all the Chicano community, here in LA, it's been something that everybody's seeing Julio as a potential next great pitcher, Mexican pitcher, which we already all saw. But now that they saw it on the biggest stage, everybody sees him as the next big Mexican pitcher on the world stage, which is great to see because he deserves that.
Yeah, absolutely. He punctuated his kind of comeback tour, even though he never went anywhere.
Right.
Dealing with injuries, dealing with all that, and hopefully he can stay here in LA for a long time, for many years to come. Of course, 2020 wasn't without its struggles all throughout the season. We're not going to get into, JT and any of the stuff that happened after the game and the subsequent battle back and forth, because MLB just seems to be struggling with that. But I'm just kind of curious, you're at a point now where you can talk a little bit more freely. You're not, directly in the game. You're not a player anymore. But you did have Rob Manfred as your commissioner a little bit. I'm just kind of curious, your take, a player's take on, maybe some of the way things have been handled between the league and the Players Association, and what you would hope to see be done better for baseball and for the future, for the fans, trying to get new fans in the game and all that.
It's a tough spot. Everybody's in a tough spot. It's hard. I was, a big part of the Players Association, and a lot of the conversations that went on when I was there. And, owners are looking out for owners, and players are looking out for players. And it's a really tough thing to bridge that gap. there's times when I guess the best way to describe it is that when it comes to like punishment, it feels like it's driven more by the response from the fans than it is by what the punishment should be. Mm-hmm. And so, there is no rules or set of guidelines on how they proceed with each individual topic. They just kind of wait and see how the public responds, and then they're either pushed into doing something or decide not to do something. So it's just a very tough situation there, because especially with COVID, there's new things that pop up all the time, and so those are things that were not thought of beforehand. And so I'm glad that it sounds like Justin's not going to get any punishment. I'm glad he's not. That's I feel like that's something that if anybody had an issue with it, it would have been the team, and they obviously didn't. I don't think I would have had an issue with it if I was his teammate. So it's one of those things where it's like, why would MLB step in a time of COVID when everybody that was actually exposed didn't seem to have an issue with it? And I understand what people are saying, how it's an example that he's setting, and I totally get that, and I think Justin did as well. He set out his apology, and he was very sincere about that. But in regards to some of the other stuff, there's a lot of things that have happened, and it's just they're both the association and Manfred are always seem to be put into difficult spots that you don't foresee, and you haven't had a president before set on how to punish people. Mm-hmm. And so and that when you get to that point, you're always going to lose the approval from the fans, because you're always going to get the 50% that don't like it and the 50% that do, and it's never unanimous. So
Right, you can pretty much never win in that situation, no matter what the decision that you make on it. You're never going to win. I get that. That's a tough spot to be in.
It really is.
Adrian, as a guy who spent some time in the NL West on two different teams, we're kind of seeing a little bit of a. Listen, in my lifetime, I haven't really seen a really good Padres team. No offense to you or anything like that. You were the best part of that Padres team when you were there.
Put some respect on Jake Peavy's name.
There you go. In your mind, what you're seeing right now from the Padres, from the youth movement in that team to just the all-around competitiveness that they're putting it up, what have you seen coming out of San Diego, and what do you expect from them in the future?
First of all, I do want to say that I was in the last National League West Division team from the Padres. There was some good mojo vibes that I brought over to the Dodgers as far as winning NL West titles. And as far as the Padres moving forward, obviously they have Tatis, that's going to be, the rock of how they build their team. They got some other players. Obviously Machado's there and Hosmer are there, which are really good guys to complement Tatis. I don't know what their catching situation is with the two catchers they acquired, but it comes down to pitching, and it comes down to, for a team like the Padres, it comes down to focusing on how to beat the Dodgers. And I know that teams don't want to say like, oh, we're setting up our team to beat another team. We're setting up our team to be the best team possible. That's what they're going to say. But if they want to have success, they gotta be able to beat the Dodgers.
Right.
And so they have to get players that can not be intimidated by, first and foremost, the fans when they are back in, because the fans take over Petco. The fans, the players, the team. There seems to be that aura of you win a game and you think you think you did so much, when in reality, like, it's just a game. And the teams that get to the playoffs consistently, they know that every game is just a game. You have to try and win every game, but win or lose, it doesn't change the dynamic of the win-loss record, or the path to the playoffs. And some teams that are young get too high on some victories and too low on some defeats, and then they let those turn into bad streaks. So, if I think they have a lot of talent, I think they have a good team, but they have to set a team to compete and be able to beat the Dodgers if they want to be able to win a division. So But obviously the Dodgers are at the top of the division talent-wise right now.
I was thinking about that where you're pretty much saying something about like, you didn't say it that way, but it's sort of like the act like you've been there mentality a little bit. It's something that the Dodgers have done a whole lot throughout your tenure and beyond. And that seemed like it sort of came a little bit to a head this particular postseason for LA, where maybe, they ran into the Braves in sort of like a dump truck there. And obviously they eventually pulled out of it. They kind of pulled their heads out of their wherever and like, hey, oh crap, this actually means something. I'm just kind of curious for you as a player, and you've been on so many great teams from LA to San Diego, even your time through Boston where you were just putting up ridiculous numbers. Is there something to like, when there's that expectation of winning, you can kind of get sort of a little lax in your head, or not in your head, but I don't know, maybe you don't treat every game like the must win it is or something like that. I don't know if I'm setting this up right, but I hope you I think you get the kind of angle I'm going with it.
Yeah, I do. It's one of those things that it's really, really hard to really explain. I always have a hard time explaining it to like my friends and family. That every game means a lot, but you cannot get high or low, and you cannot get super excited and super depressed if you win or lose. So you kind of have to act like if it doesn't, if that makes sense. I think even though every game means a ton, but you cannot let your emotions ride that roller coaster of a long season. So therefore you have to just treat every game as a game, but you give it all you have for that one day, and then whatever the outcome is, you move on to the next. It's the longest season in any sports, obviously, other than this year, and it's a big roller coaster ride, and you cannot let the highs get too high or the lows get too low. So even though sometimes the outside perspective seems like, oh, they're getting lackadaisical, I promise you inside the clubhouse, everybody's putting in their work and everybody's doing everything they can to win every game. So sometimes people, from the outside, I can see how it can look like, oh, they're getting lackadaisical, but in reality, they're not, because I know what kind of meetings go into every day, every game. I know what kind of preparation goes into every game. And it's not like they're showing up to a game and just like saying, oh, today we're not going to prepare. We're just going to go out there and play,
Right. Yeah, I mean, you play 162 games a year in a normal season, plus adding in playoffs. I can understand how you'd have to look at that and be like, look, we got to take this one game at a time. Yesterday was yesterday, and today's today. So I definitely get the misrepresentation maybe from fans when they're looking at it like, oh, they don't care about today. They're checked out of today. Look at them. It's like, well, dude, this is a whole new ball game from yesterday, man.
Yeah, exactly. I remember, and I know you guys remember 100%, the game that when I was with the Padres and you had the 3 home runs in a row to tie the game and then the Nomar homer to win the walk-off. And everybody thought the Dodgers were going to win the division and go to the playoffs after that game, because everybody got so high on that one victory.
Yeah.
But right. there was still another 7 games left. And I learned a lot on that team in 2006 by the way that clubhouse responded to that loss, because that team was full of veterans, experience. You had David Wells and Trevor Hoffman and Jake Peavy and Woody Williams. And I mean, I can go on and on and on, Mike Piazza and all these guys that have been through it. And everybody in that clubhouse responded with like, hey, I understand it was a very emotional game that we just lost, but at the same time, tomorrow we go out and win, and we win the next X amount of games, we're still going to win this division. It didn't count for 10 losses. It counted for 1 loss, just like every other game.
Yeah, that's a good pull right there. Yeah.
And so that was, I mean, I learned a lot from that game, from experience, on how to deal with, these big games and how to respond with them. So those are the type of games that I can think of that gave me a lot of knowledge and experience into how to deal with these type of games.
So you go from a pretty illustrious baseball career. Obviously now nothing's really going on in terms of the pandemic, and everyone's kind of shut down, not really doing much from home nowadays, at least especially me and you, Clint. We're not really doing a whole lot except sitting here. But you're always working. You're always doing something. Now you're working on an app. You want to tell us a little bit about this app that you've been working on?
Yeah, for sure. Been working on it for almost 2 years now. A lot of different. We've actually gone through 5 or 6 different updates and different iterations of it, and we were ready to launch in March, and then the pandemic hit, and so we had to put it off and wait until it was the right time, and we felt like this was the right time to kind of get back into the launch mode. So we decided to launch. It's basically a place where everything about my personal life is in there. You have all my social media platforms in there. It's curated in a way where you can easily see, things that happen in my life, things that happen the way I prepare for things, the way that there's a lot of baseball posts, and there's a giving back component. Then you have the store, you have the exclusive content, you have memorabilia that's going to be available soon. Then I'm going to have shout outs, which is a lot of people know them as cameos.
Yeah.
Shout outs. So you can basically have access to everything in my life there. And we just want to give the fans an ability to access, because within this platform, what we're doing is we're creating the same concept of apps for every other baseball player, boxer, football player, baseball, or NBA basketball player, soccer player. And so there's a number of athletes that are going to follow my lead into having their own app and being able to give access to their fans, more than anything, the community of people that follow them, that really passionately follow them, access into like all these giveaways and different things that just kind of brings each of you closer, right? The fan and yourself kind of bring you guys closer, because I feel like social media is great, but there's that feeling of being separated.
Yeah.
And there's only so much access you have within social media, and this one feels like it's yours, and you're really putting yourself out there for the fans.
Yeah, I think it's just such a great way for fans to stay connected with players. I mean, Adrian, throughout the course of your career, especially as a baseball player, you maybe get a few months off during the year, or not even a few months, maybe a few weeks if you're lucky off during the year. And during that time, you're probably wanting to, sit with your family for a second and get a little bit of time to breathe with them and celebrate the holidays with them. So throughout the course of a regular season, it's a grind, and you're busy all the time, and you're always moving, always doing stuff. So I feel like this is a pretty good opportunity for fans to get a chance to connect with their favorite players, see what they're up to all the time. And personally, there's a couple guys on the team now that I would love to have that with, because as an athlete, you're not always great at social media. Some people are like, I don't really do the social media thing, and I get that totally. So I think it's a great way to see what people are up to.
And we know in sports, like the fan engagement and the player engagement and the value that a player has on their own name after their career. I mean, it seems like it almost belongs to somebody else. Your name might belong to Baseball Reference instead of yourself. So something like this is really cool. You start establishing that early, you get that connection to the fans, and it's something that takes you beyond just your playing career and what you're doing then, which is really cool. I mean, and we're seeing more of the engagement, like particularly with baseball. Trevor Bauer has been great in trying to put his life out there online a little bit. He doesn't always do everything exactly perfect, for sure, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think something like what you're doing here is just as fantastic, particularly for baseball, and in getting players more of their own personality in a way, as opposed to just whatever baseball allows them to be.
Yeah, no, exactly. And one of the things too, like, you hit it right in the spot, that sometimes things don't work. And like, if a player was to post something that ends up being, bad or negative on Instagram or somebody else, you have millions of people that grab it, take it, and run with it, right? And kind of turn you into a persona that you're not. It was just a bad decision or a bad post, or you didn't mean it that way and it came out the wrong way. Here you're really only showing it to the community of the people that are following you. And so, I feel like those people, are going to give you a chance to explain yourself if that was to happen. and so because they're those people, those true followers that really want to be engaged and be a part of, this path that you're on, that you've been given. And so I feel like when something like that was to happen, if you're doing it within your own app, you can really be given a chance to explain yourself and say, like, no, this is really what I meant. I'm sorry. Where you put it out in the social media world, and it's there. Hundreds and thousands of people are running with it, and you never get a chance to explain anything.
Yeah, kind of not controlling your own narrative, but at least having people that understand you a lot more is man, that's so crucial these days.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, big time. So that's the Titan 23 app, right? That's on Google Play and on Apple products.
Correct. Yeah,
awesome.
It's available on both. It's Titan 23 together. And yeah, I mean, we have a few boxers that are getting ready to launch theirs, and a few other. We're talking to a few MLB players as well. So look out for more as we get ready here in this off season, especially baseball. Once the season ended, we started talking to some of the players. So it'll be great. Hopefully you guys will enjoy my app personally, but also the ones that are to come in the future.
Awesome. And I know you're running a giveaway on your social media right now, or at least on Twitter. I'm not sure if you're doing it on Instagram. I didn't notice that, but let people know, if they don't already know, where they can find you online and they can find out more about the app. I'm assuming through your own social media.
Yeah, so we're doing all the giveaways on through the app. So
okay.
we're promoting them on social media, but in order to be a part of the contest, in order to possibly win this giveaway, you go to the app Time23 and follow the rules there, and make yourself available for these. And I mean, we have, gosh, I don't know, 20-30 giveaways from now until the end of the year. So I mean, they're coming every other day, every third day, and so it'll be good for people to go if they really like some of this, things that whether it's a ball, a bat, or a lot of also game used, or things that I've had. I know some of the things that you end up, when you, like, I've gone to All-Star games, and when you go to All-Star games, they give you an option to buy these catalogs from the All-Star game, and with your picture on the front. And so you buy a box and you give out all the ones you want for your friends, but you also end up with another 20 left over. and so you're like, this is a great opportunity to do as a giveaway for the fans, a signed All-Star catalog that, is something that would be great for some of the fans that, really follow me and want to be a part of this community to have, because you want to extend these things that have been out there. So it's just there's so many of these different things that we're going to be giving away, and just we want to give everybody a chance to win the giveaway. And if you don't happen to win the giveaway, there will be some obviously available through the memorabilia store as well.
Cool, that's awesome, man. Well, A Gon, we appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen. That is Dodgers legend. That's why I'm putting it on. I'm putting that title on you, because it is 100% accurate. Dodgers legend Adrian Gonzalez. We appreciate your time, man, and best of luck and everything.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.